What is up, side hustlers, entrepreneurs, business builders, and dream makers? Welcome to the Sell Your Side Hustle Podcast, episode 63. Great to be back in your buds once again, as we are every single day of the week, doing another nightcap episode today. It is 10:18 p.m. at time of recording, but I do everything that I can to make sure that I don't miss an episode for you guys. Love you so much. And hey, you already know this. I've mentioned it this week. I might end up missing some episodes next week because I'll be traveling. I'm going to try to do you a solid, though. I'm going to try to get these episodes out anyway. Quality might be lower. Don't know. We're going to find out. We're going to go through that journey together. Maybe that means you don't hear from me next week. We'll see. Maybe you only hear from me Monday because I should still be in town on Monday. But I'm going to try to keep it running for you guys. Hey, today I want to talk to you about something very simple. Communication. And I've talked to you before about the communication arc and the science behind communication, but now today I want to talk to you about something a little bit more practical and tangible, which is communicate with your clients. Just tell them what's going on. Just tell them what's up. Here's what I know about myself. I know that my expectations are up to and including and stop at what I have been told. When somebody tells me that they're going to do something, I don't think about it again. I say, cool, that's taken care of. And I move forward with life. And I just assume that that's handled until I get to the point where it needed to be taken care of and it either is or isn't. Or if I get to markers that I've set in place to double check just to make sure because it's sensitive enough to need to be taken care of. But usually, even like in my marriage, the way this looks is, planning trips. My wife will be like, hey, I'm going to handle the tickets while I'm at work today, plane tickets while I'm at work today. I'm like, cool. Awesome. Now it's completely out of my brain, out of my mind. I never think about it again. And then, later that day or the next day, she'll be like, oh, by the way, I got tickets. Sweet. She'll be like, yep, we need to be at the airport at this time. Got it. When do we need to get up? We need to get up at this time. So we can, great. We need to get up at that time. Cool. And that's how I operate in my business too. Now, here's the crazy thing. When something doesn't go according to plan, even in that example that I gave with my wife. And, she's like, hey, I wasn't actually able to look at tickets today. No worries. I'll look at them tonight. Right. I'm not upset. I'm never upset when somebody comes to me and says, hey, things didn't work out according to plan. As long as they give me a heads up, if they communicate as quickly as possible and we can adjust, I'm not upset about it. Life happens. I get it. And so knowing that about myself, it's curious that I'm not great at communicating with my clients all the time. Knowing that I forgive when things go wrong, well, it's reasonable that most people are reasonable, right? So, example, just in what's going on in my life right now. The reason I'm not going to be here next week, I'll be traveling again, is because there was a loss in the family. I'm actually planning and officiating the funeral. So I'll be gone for that. And so, it was a close family member. And so there's the grieving process as well. And then there's logistics and dealing with all of that, right? So I could try to not let my personal life interject with my professional life whatsoever and not tell any of my clients and just keep forging ahead and trying my best to take on all my clients as well as all this additional load as well as the grief. Or I could just be transparent and honest with them. And I've learned to go with the second option. And here's why. Because one of my clients pays me several $1,000s a month, pays me a percent profit share on top of that. I work with them pretty hands-on. I let them know I'm going to be out of commission for a week because there was a loss in the family. You know what they told me? They said, when we had our next meeting this week, they said, thank you so much for taking the time to work with me and work with my business and provide value and do your best to help us while you're going through this difficult time in your family. I appreciate you so much. Okay. Another client that I told, hey, I'm not going to be very available next week. I'm going to do everything in my power to take care of you as much as I can. I also had to tell them today, I did give them an update and say, hey, I'm actually also behind this week. Things that I promised you that I'd have done, I don't have done. I'm going to get them done for you before I leave. That's my commitment to you. Their response was like, hey, I appreciate it. If this wasn't for my client, I would just tell you, hey, wait. But I do have a timeline I have to run on, so I appreciate it, and I'm a little worried it's not going to get done on time. And like, I'll get it done on time for you. And they're like, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you. And those are the interactions you have when you're just honest and transparent, you know. And I've had it too, where like, you gotta push a deadline back. You're like, hey, I promised you that I'd have this by this date. I can't. I'll get it to you by this date. And I, for the most part, when you communicate that enough in advance, people just appreciate it. So the funny thing is, the reason that we don't want to communicate things immediately is because our own pride. We don't want to admit that we were wrong or that we failed or that we have to make an adjustment or that we made a mistake. And because we're afraid of conflict. But if we didn't have that ego and we just told people about it, we would minimize conflict. You maximize conflict by not telling people the last minute. So my recommendation for you is communicate often, communicate early. Over communication is not a thing in business. I've had a client who I was running ads for who I think at the end of last month timeline probably, who ended up firing me. And I had gotten them a probably somewhere in the neighborhood of a 600% improvement on their KPIs for their ads overall. I don't remember all the metrics. I have to look up for you, but like I was blowing their ads out of the water. I was worlds apart ahead of them. But when I say I was actually kind of being white labeled, right? And so it was me and it was somebody else who I'm teamed up with. And I suspect, though we don't know, that the reason that they ended up firing us was because they weren't happy with the lack of communication. And so you can do an incredible job. We were doing an incredible job. But if that communication isn't there, then there's a problem. And I think the inverse is probably true, that if you're not doing the best job, but you have great communication, you're likely to keep a client. As long as they understand and you're honest and you're genuine and you're doing your best. Now, there's a limit to that. If you're absolutely horrible, people aren't going to waste money just because you're a nice guy. But there's degrees to it. So my encouragement to you is just be transparent with your clients. It's gonna be more beneficial in the long term. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Love you guys. God bless.